So a little while back on the Path of Exile forums, they basically talked about the fact that they've been working on patch 0.2. And I remember a while back before that they said this was going to be a content patch giving us more stuff in the endgame to do, which is great. Now we know basically almost nothing about this, but I'll cover what we do know, I'll cover what people are speculating, and I'll cover my own personal opinions on it. All that we know is it should be coming around the end of March. We also know that they are at least making some changes to towers, but in turn that probably means that mapping in general isn't really going to be changing a whole lot. We also know that they're bringing out a few new items, and we also know that they're bringing out some more support gems. And the support gems look pretty cool. Now, judging based off their other posts on the forums before this, we know that they are aware that at the moment, some things are overtuned and some things are undertuned, so we're probably going to be expecting a balance patch soon. However, what I've seen a lot of people speculate is 0.2 is bringing out the last few remaining classes and the last few acts of the game. And I'm 99% sure that's not the case. And I'm saying that because a long time ago, they said that patch 1.0 was going to include the last few classes and the last few acts. So I'm going based off their previous information, and that's what I'm going to stick with. What I think they are going to do is hopefully shake up the endgame a little bit, hopefully give us more stuff to do, but I think we're going to be seeing probably a lot of balance changes. If they're doing a lot of balance changes, I feel like they almost have to sort of give us a reset. Now I'm hoping the way that they reset us is by giving us a dummy league to play around in, so that way our current characters, our current progression doesn't get deleted. Now I've talked a lot about this before, but I think the biggest problem they're having is trading. I think their current trading system is among the worst I've seen in any game ever, and I think unfortunately they need some sort of auction house. But I've talked about this before. What it would mean is the items that people are selling at low prices, because the Exalted Orb's value has dropped so much, people don't want to waste their time at the moment selling it. I got sent a video from a friend on Discord who tried to buy 20, 30 trial entries off someone ranging from like 1 exalts to 10 exalts, and not a single person replied. Because at the moment, most medium to good items are starting at 1 divine, and in fact for my characters to improve now, the items are costing 20 to hundreds of divines each. So they shared a few items, and I've seen people using these items as basically saying, look, these are uniques of a base that currently doesn't exist, or it exists very late into the game, and maybe the level doesn't match, or there were some ideas going around that proved that these 2 uniques leaked the fact that new acts are coming. As far as these uniques go, they look okay, but the helmet is really interesting. It essentially gives you Giant's Blood, which is a passive that you can allocate, which allows you to equip a 2-handed weapon in 1 hand. But the downside of this helmet, because unfortunately most of Path of Exile's uniques seems to have a downside attached, is that actually you can't equip a chest piece. And so already you're losing out a lot of spirit, life, resistances, at least 2 sockets. I think it's the Mirror Invictus people are using at the moment to have like 5 soul cores attached to their chest to give them tons of spirit or tons of resistance or tons of rarity of items found. Well, you can't equip that now with this build, so I think this helmet is probably useless. That's my guess. And then the other weapon is actually a big 2-handed hammer. And the really cool thing is this gives you like a random shrine buff every now and then. So that's pretty cool. I don't have a clue how high this base damage is. I don't have a clue how good this item is. But it looks better than, in my opinion, the helmet. I can't see the helmet being particularly useful. But the other cool things that they've shown off is obviously the changes to the towers. For me, I think the tower itself should provide a buff, and you can stick in your tablet to give you a more personalized buff that you particularly are looking for, or to guarantee some breaches in the area or bosses in the area or something like that. And I think the tablet's buff as well as the tower's buff should be based on what tier map you run on this tower. That way it gives you an incentive to run as high tier map as you can on a tower, rather than putting in a low tier one just to get it completed. But what they are doing as a change to these towers is they are now allowing you to find map mechanics on it, like bosses and breach. And I think that's a cool change. I think it'll make them feel a bit more rewarding, and it should give you more loot to drop. And then lastly, the things we have been shown is a few more supports, and one of them I'm more interested in than the others. I haven't really played around with bleed builds, so I don't know how useful this support is. And the only strike build I've used is Ice Strike Monk, and I can't see there's a new support that affects melee strike skills being very useful in Ice Strike, but I could be wrong. Now the 2 interesting ones is Embitter, which essentially all your extra added damage is converted to added cold. And like I said, it's really weird because they're talking about, you know, shifting in the meta and stuff like that. I would say it's harder to build up extra added cold damage than it is added lightning damage. So for me, it's really weird that they're almost encouraging or making it easier for current builds. But we'll have to see if they do any big changes to Herald. And then the one that I'm really interested about is the one that's around Chaos dot skills. Essentially, you could do more Chaos dot damage based on your intelligence. But as a negative, the more intelligence you have, the more energy shield it costs to cast this spell. Now, an easy fix is you just go Mind Over Matter and Eldritch Battery. So now you just have a huge mana pool, which is your life pool. And since you'll be stacking int anyway for the more damage, you're just going to have an even bigger mana pool. So in my opinion, this is a really, really good support gem. But as someone that's, started with a Contagion ED build, I will say that actually map clearing was never a problem. The damage was there. It wasn't an issue at all. Where the problem lied was killing bosses. And I'm just not convinced, even stacking up something like 1,000 intelligence, I'm not convinced it's actually going to be enough. But we will see what else there is to come, and I'll keep you guys updated as obviously we get more information. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye bye.